Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the fourth episode of the Jets Up podcast. I'm joined by my co-host Anthony, aka Jets Wire, and a special guest today. We have Zach, aka Bucked Up Edits, or Bucked Up for
Whoa.
short. How you guys doing today?
Pretty good. I'm ready to talk some football here.
I'm doing swell, man. Bucks are in the Super Bowl. Can't get much better than this.
Yeah, and it's gonna be very great when they lose to the Chiefs, but at least you guys made it there. So we're going to open up with the head coaching news that has recently broke. David Culley is the next head coach of the Houston Texans. Anthony, we'll start with you. What do you think about this?
I think this is a total L. It's this guy David Coley appears that he's 65 years old. He hasn't really had any kind of success as a wide receivers coach. Wait, was he a wide receivers coach and a special teams coach? He was both.
I don't know.
I think he was both.
I know he was a wide receivers coach.
He was a wide receivers coach. That's what we know. And I haven't really seen that much out of them because I don't really think the Ravens receivers have been too good in the last few years. And it doesn't make any sense. It's so stupid. You see a wide receivers coach go out and be a head coach. That's just such a rare thing. I don't really see that much. So
Yeah, you summed it up pretty well. But I basically wrote down two sentences for this question. The Texans are an awful franchise. I mean, for the fact that they let these stats just walk away with a thing that they could have avoided in just hiring a new head coach or a good head coach, they let 4,823 yards, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and a 112.4 passer rating on a team that went 4-12. They let that walk away. They're an awful franchise, and they should be out of the league.
no.
Yeah, I mean, I think this team might be headed down the same path as the Houston Oilers were a couple decades ago.
Exactly.
This is just terrible management. First of all, David Culley, I mean, 65 years of age. This isn't a very long plan. You're gonna see this guy get fired in a couple of years. I mean, once again, as I said in my video, it's great to see some more diversity along the coaching in the NFL, which is what we've needed for a couple of years now. But David Culley's not the guy to do it. He's the Ravens wide receiver coach. He had success with Tyreek Hill early on in his career, moved over to the Ravens, and just hasn't had the same success with Marquise Brown and Willie Snead. It's just not been pretty to watch. I mean, this Ravens team has been bottom 5 in the league in passing the last couple of seasons, which is just not good. You don't make him your next head coach, especially when you have Deshaun Watson. This hire could potentially decide the next 10 years of your franchise. Will you have Deshaun Watson a top 3 quarterback, or will you not? So it's just a bad hire and bad organizational management altogether.
And
I totally agree.
And you obviously can't blame Culley because I mean, all he did was apply for the job. I mean, you got to blame the front office, and they just signed it for the front office, and it's not getting any better anytime soon.
I'm happy for Culley. I hope he succeeds, but it just doesn't look like it. Especially in this situation, you're just thrown into the fire and waited to fail. So, that being said, Deshaun Watson has requested a trade from the Houston Texans organization, unsurprisingly. I don't know if there is any correlation between the David Culley hiring and Deshaun Watson requesting a trade. What I'm hearing is that he wanted out a couple weeks ago, but what are your guys' thoughts? Zach, I'll start with you this time.
I've known this. No matter who the hire is, unless it's Robert Saleh or Eric Bieniemy, could maybe have changed Deshaun Watson's mind. But since neither of that happened, it's not gonna happen. He's clearly doesn't want to go back at all. He clearly just wants to get the hell out of there and just go wherever he wants. But we're gonna hear a few stuff within the next few days about to see what's gonna happen with him. So. What about you, Box?
Yeah, one thing I want to hear what you guys think about this before we move on. Why do you think Bieniemy hasn't been signed as a head coach yet?
I honestly couldn't tell you. It could be because of
obviously they're still playing, but why do you think he hasn't been given the job?
I mean, from what I've heard, he's bombed a couple interviews, just done pretty bad in them. And combined with the fact that the interviews that he does perform well in, he can't really get the job because the Chiefs are just so good that he's going to stay in the playoffs for majority of the time. And you want to get your head coach in the building very early. You don't want to wait till after the Super Bowl.
Bro, the
to get-
longer he's there, I think the better of a head coach he's going to be one day.
And some people aren't, meant to be head coaches. I mean, look at
Matt Patricia.
yeah, Matt Patricia.
Yeah, look at him.
much
He was
better.
a terrific defensive guy with the Patriots for years. And this is what happens to some people. You can be a great coordinator and you can be an awful head coach.
And like Todd Bowles is a great defensive coordinator.
Yeah, and he's a terrible head coach.
Terrible head coach.
And honestly, one more thing to add to the Matt Patricia thing. He was a very overrated defensive coordinator anyway. The Patriots finished in his last season there. The Patriots finished like 27th in overall defense. That's terrible. The next season, they were like first in the league in every category. So
Yeah.
I don't even know.
They definitely improved after he left. There's definitely a correlation between wearing a pencil in your ear and having a bad defense.
Yeah, I mean, so Zach, what do you think about Watson requesting a trade though?
I mean, it was gonna happen regardless. They're just a bad franchise. They had the opportunity to keep him around by hiring a good head coach, and they went and signed somebody that was not even talked about. I didn't even hear this guy's name until today.
I had never heard of this guy before in my life. I'm just gonna be honest.
Until last night, until it actually happened.
You know what? Like, the names you still have up there are pretty big names for head coaching, and you just kind of went with some. Like, it was just a bad decision. It was just a bad decision.
Didn't the Bills
There
just
was a lot of like boring head coach openings for some teams. You know what I mean? Like, there were some boring hires, in my opinion. There've been a lot. The only two exciting coaching hires that I really like is the Urban Meyer hiring and the Robert Saleh hiring. Those are the only two hires I really like.
Dan Campbell was a bad hire. Brennan Staley was a bad hire, as far as I'm concerned.
You look at the
and whoever the Eagles, they got the Colts offensive coordinator, bro. They miss Frank Wright so much. They're just trying to get the disciple of him. So it's just not very good hires.
Yeah, I mean, you look at. It really confused me when I woke up to that information that they signed Cully, because I mean, he was so off my radar. Like, you could have just offered a college coach that actually has some potential, so a good amount of money, and he probably would have left his situation. Like Day in Ohio State would be a good option. There's obviously a ton of options out there, and they just chose somebody who I think wasn't a good fit, and obviously that was kind of the nail that really just cost them Watson.
Yeah, and I mean, look, as a Jets fan, I'm not complaining over any of this news, bro. Just Deshaun Watson requesting a trade. Fuck it, bro. Let's go. Let's run it, Deshaun. But yeah, this is overall when you have players in the locker room telling your star player you need to go, you need to save yourself while you can. Your organization is just so far gone. There's no returning from it. So, and by the way, this wasn't in the script, but what do you guys think of the Nick Sirianni hire for the Eagles at head coach?
Obviously, it's not like the sexy hire, but like the Robert Saleh hiring of the Jets. But I don't know too much about him. The Colts had a decent offense this year with Phil Rivers, T.Y. Hilton, Jonathan Taylor. Marlon Mack was out like half the year. Pretty good offensive line up front. Obviously, you got a really good guard up front, Quentin Nelson. So it's nice to have a guy like that. And so we're gonna see what happens. I think he can end up being a good hire, but we're just gonna see what happens with him. So yeah.
Yeah, another guy that was off my radar for sure. I honestly didn't know too much about him at all before he signed, and it was another surprising name to be called, especially, I would have thought that Bieniemy and Saleh were the first to go, and Bieniemy's still there.
And
so
I'm
I
surprised
guess
Brian Dable didn't get a job either. I'm so surprised.
And yeah, Bieniemy was my lock this offseason to get a job.
In like the beginning of last season, I was like high on Bieniemy. Everybody was.
But yeah, Nick Sirianni is a guy I didn't really have on my radar. I mean, I guess like I alluded to earlier, they miss Frank Wright so much. They're gonna bring in anyone in the building that has had coffee with him. I don't even think Nick Sirianni called the plays for the Colts offense last year, even though they had a pretty decent offense.
He did.
But I would say I would rank this like the third head coach hire of the offseason. That's just how like stale the head coaching hires have actually been. I don't think he's going to be a bad head coach. I think he'll be pretty decent, but it's not a sexy move, and not really a Super Bowl or even playoff contending move, to be honest.
It's definitely an interesting little coaching carousel there because obviously it seems kind of stale, but then you've got Urban Meyer coming out of retirement to coach, which is awesome to see.
Yeah, that's true.
And
I love Urban Meyer, man, and I really hope he has success.
I mean, who doesn't, man? It's Urban Meyer.
He's a good man.
All right, so now we're going to move into the next topic. We're going to rank the destinations or the trade destinations for Deshaun Watson this upcoming offseason. Zach, I want to start with you for this one.
Yeah, I'm a Bucks fan on the Jets podcast, and my bias is towards the Jets today.
Nice.
I put a little in my notes. I put a little bit of a reason why I put them where they are, and I think the Jets are just. I put the obvious choice. They've got the most cap, second most cap. They've got room to, play with a pick, so they don't need to draft a quarterback. They don't need to. So that's my obvious pick. Number 2 would be the Dolphins. I've kind of got number 2 through 5 kind of sorted as final piece teams where Deshaun Watson could be that final piece that they need to be a playoff team. And that would be the Finns, the Broncos, the Panthers, the 49ers. But I don't know if I'd throw the 49ers in there because they seem like a team that's really good and then they shoot themselves in the foot every other year. So you really don't know what you're getting with the 49ers. Then number 6 would be the Washington football team. They're definitely a few pieces away yet. They've got a pretty good defense, one that the Bucks torched in the wild card weekend. Won't bring that much more up than that. But they've got question marks at running back and wide receiver because they're young there. You can't trust a third round running back to be the guy in his second season. You just can't trust that he'll actually be the guy. So you kind of gotta cross your fingers there. Number 7, the Pats. They're just a regressing team. They don't seem like they're making moves to get better. And there's just a lot of questions on what, the Pats can do. Number 8 would be the Bears. They're my least favorite on this list because they are also a regressing team. And if you look at their drafts, they might have some of the worst drafts the last couple of years. So between them regressing and getting older, they're not bringing in new talent, and that amounts to wins. So you would basically almost be going into the exact situation.
Just trading up for Mitch Trubisky, just
exactly
like a depth franchise.
I mean, you're kind of going from one Texan situation to another where the talent you're bringing in isn't resulting in wins. They aren't great in cap room, and the players they have are kind of regressing as well. I mean, I feel like Khalil Mack kind of took a step back. But you do have a few bright spots, but some of those bright spots might be leaving this free agency period, and it can kind of get scary for the Bears.
Yeah, I agree, Anthony. I'll let you lead.
All right. So, number 1 on my list, I think it's really obvious. Number 1 is the Jets. A big reason why I put the Jets is there's just so many reasons. Number 1, I think the Jets have the most to give up for Deshaun Watson. Obviously, you have all that draft capital. You have 4 first-round, isn't it? Yeah, it's 4 first-round picks the next 2 years, I believe. So, and I really think Deshaun Watson, I think he would change the culture in New York. In my opinion, I really think MetLife would get so many fans because of Deshaun Watson. I think that tickets would be sold twice as more as they were before we didn't even have Watson. So, and I think in Watson, obviously, he's already proved to be a guy that's had a bad offensive line his whole career, and it's had not like his first 3 years. He had DeAndre Hopkins, but that was it. He had nobody else. In this past year, he had a career year with 33 touchdowns. He led the league in passing yards. He had about 4,823.
Yep.
And only 7 interceptions. He was a terrific quarterback this year. He was a top 4 or 3 quarterback this year.
Yeah, if that record were reversed and it was a 12-4 record, I think he would probably be the front runner for MVP.
Yeah,
if that's not crazy to say.
This guy's a future MVP if you put around him. So and if the Jets end up getting Watson, you're gonna see guys like Allen Robinson try to get their way to New York. So
right,
I really just think the Jets is the most realistic possible landing spot for him, in my opinion.
And you got to remember too, with the Texans this year, they obviously didn't have DeAndre Hopkins, and then Will Fuller got suspended for the rest of the season.
Yeah, that's a bad
organization. Who did he have to throw to?
That's a bad organization. I'll say that. So, and then next on my list is the Miami Dolphins. This is another team that Deshaun Watson is also interested in playing for. He's a Miami guy. The
Georgia guy. Receiving some technical difficulties. This happens about once every show. He just cuts out for like 10 seconds. So I'll just ask him to repeat what he said. But I hope you guys are enjoying.
Question is, do they have just what were you saying?
Oh no, you just cut out for 10 seconds.
Oh, my bad. But the big question is, do the Dolphins have enough to give up for Deshaun Watson? But The thing is, I heard something earlier that they're kind of more interested in keeping Tua and seeing how he does. He's bringing in a guy that he's really close to. So who knows? Maybe he does just end up just being the Dolphins quarterback next year. But we're gonna see what happens. So, and then next on the list, this is a team that just started pursuing Deshaun Watson, and that is the Carolina Panthers. I don't know about this one. I can see it, but I doubt it. It's just I don't think they have too much to give up for Deshaun Watson. Like I don't really think they have too much draft capital to give up for him. But if you're gonna trade like a good player for him, who are you gonna trade? That's the big question. Like who would you put in the who one of the Panthers would be part of a Deshaun Watson trade? That's my biggest question. DJ Moore or someone like that? I don't know.
I think you just ship a bunch of draft picks.
Yeah, or something like that. So I don't really see the Panthers possibility though, but we'll see. And then number 4 on the my list is the San Francisco 49ers. This is a team that makes sense. In my opinion, I think the 49ers are only a quarterback away from making the Super Bowl, in my opinion. Obviously, they dealt with so many injuries this past year, but Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh were able to carry this team to 6 wins but still be competitive. And I can see the 49ers back in the Super Bowl these next 2 years, in my opinion, because I just think they're quarterback away. I think they have all the other pieces. I think they're just a quarterback away.
Yeah, the one thing I want to pitch in about the 49ers is that's the one team I don't like them as much as the Jets or the Finns, but that's the one team it kind of scares me just because of how good they could be. And like you said, they're a quarterback away. They were a quarterback away from winning the Super Bowl too.
Yeah, and
that's
they make the playoffs the year before. They go straight into the playoffs and straight to the Super Bowl.
Right. It's a scary. It's that would be a scary situation.
Quarterback away from making the Super Bowl. And then number 5 on my list, I got the New England Patriots. I don't know if this is gonna happen. Even though Belichick is really interested in having a big offseason, this upcoming 2021 offseason. But this is another team that the Jets must stop from getting Deshaun Watson. This is a team in your division that's haunted you the last 10 to 15 years. You cannot let them get a superstar like Deshaun Watson. You need to. So, but but we're gonna see what the Patriots want to do. Maybe who knows? Maybe they're gonna end up picking like a Trey Lance or maybe I heard they might end up picking Mac Jones in the draft this upcoming 2021 draft. But I don't know. But I can see the Patriots in a way. I can see Belichick, and it would scare me because I think Belichick would make him twice as better in my opinion. So it's just Jets just can't let that happen. That's all I'm gonna say. And then next on the list is the Chicago Bears. I know, Bucks, you don't really like this. You put this at the bottom of your list. I don't really see it as a good spot either. I'm just putting it 6 on the list, but I don't really think Deshaun Watson would really want to play in Chicago. It's nasty down there. I don't see that as a great spot for him. I doubt it, but if the Bears need a quarterback apparently this offseason with them moving on from Mitchell Trubisky, and Nick Foles is not going to be there next year, so they're going to look for a quarterback. Maybe they'll look for like another quarterback on the market, like Sam Darnold or someone like that. But Deshaun Watson, I put them in the market for him. But yeah. I don't see it happening now, but we'll see.
Yeah, the Bears are one of those cool storylines. That's kind of the only reason I would be excited about it, because obviously, they took Trubisky over Watson.
Yeah,
kind of funny to have Watson take his job.
No, they took Trubisky over Watson and Mahomes.
Yeah, and I think
right.
About this, Zach, right on a call, we said this is one of the biggest what ifs in NFL history. If the Bears take Deshaun Watson over Mitch Trubisky, how many Super Bowls do they have by now? I would think they have 2 minimum. Yeah. I think this team, they drafted Watson, they would have 2 Super Bowls. But yeah, number 7.
The Bears now coming in at number 7 is the Washington football team. Another unlikely landing spot for Deshaun Watson. It's possible though, but really, really unlikely. So the Washington football team, they went through a few quarterbacks this season with Alex Smith. Obviously, his leg is literally destroyed apparently, so he hasn't been the same. Then you got Kyle Allen, and then you got Dwayne Haskins, and not anymore. You had Dwayne Haskins, and then you decided to release him right before the season just ended. So this is a team another team that's looking for a quarterback on the market and possibly in the draft. So why not be in they're probably going to end up being in the Matthew Stafford market too. And maybe in the Sam Darnold market too. They're going to be looking for some quarterbacks on the market. So I put them a kind of part of the Deshaun Watson race. So I got them.
I don't like the Washington football team.
I don't really either. I like Ron Rivera though.
I just don't think it makes sense, and I don't for Deshaun Watson because
it doesn't make any sense.
He's leaving a bad front office for probably the worst front office in the league. Yeah. The probably the biggest culture problems in the league. Like it just doesn't make sense.
Is Thanos worse?
No, because remember what happened before the season started.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, all that stuff with the sexual abuse and it's just not a place you would want to be for. Now they did kind of turn it around this year, but it's definitely not a place you would want to go if you're leaving the Texans.
All right, Jetswire, who's your number 8?
And coming in number 8 are the Denver Broncos.
Weird.
This is a team in the NFL right now has a really weird future upon them because I don't think Drew Lock's the future. That's my opinion. I don't think Drew Lock is the future of the Denver Broncos. I just don't see it. I've just seen him regressing a little too much under Vic Fangio. I understand Vic Fangio isn't the best coach out there, but Drew Lock and some of the guys he has out there, obviously he has really decent wide receivers out there like Cortland Sutton. Obviously, Philip Lindsay as running back for the past 3 years. Okay, O-line up front, but obviously, Drew Lock is I just don't see him as the future of the Denver Broncos. So this is why I put them in the Deshaun Watson market. But even though it's so unlikely, but I put them last. So, yeah.
Yeah, the Broncos are definitely my front runner for the Matthew Stafford suite.
Yeah, they're up there.
All right,
I mean, they're a good roster. if they
Yeah.
stay healthy.
I am very happy with how things turned out because you guys are going to be able to debate my list because it's a lot different from your guys. All right, so we're going to start off on number one. I think this is the clear cut number one. It's the San Francisco 49ers. Now, imagine, and I'm doing this from a perspective of I'm Deshaun Watson right now. If I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm looking at this 49ers team who went to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo as their quarterback. Do you know how good you have to be to come out of the NFC West and win the whole NFC with Jimmy Garoppolo as your quarterback? Be about 3 completed passes away from winning the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo as your quarterback. You got Kyle Shanahan, one of the best offensive minds in the league. You got weapons, Deebo Samuel, Brennan Ayuk. If they bring Tevin Coleman back, that's going to be a cool weapon. Raheem Mostert, he's good too. Jordan Reed, George Kittle, just a bunch of pieces to work with. And then on the defensive side of the ball, you have a top 5 defense when healthy. So, and one, the 49ers. 2, we have the Miami Dolphins. They're a bit of the discounted version of the 49ers. You have Brian Flores. He's a great head coach. He's really solidified the culture in Miami. You got Devontae Parker, Jarian Grant, and I think Matt Collins there too, as well as Mike Gesicki and a combination of Matt Breida and Myles Gaskin at running back. This team is really a quarterback away, and I think Tua can develop into that type of quarterback. When you have Deshaun Watson available, you got to trade for him. Plus, it's Miami. You don't have to pay taxes in Florida. Miami's a really nice city, and the defense is top 5 in the league again when healthy. Number 3, and this is one of the hot takes I have on this list, the Washington football team.
Wow.
Now, you go to here. I understand the front office is not all that, but you get to go to this offense, and there's a bunch of players I love on this offense. All right, you have Antonio Gibson. You have Terry McLaurin. You're really just a second receiver away from being a legitimate threat with a quarterback. Tight end. Escaping my name right now, but let's say you're able to bring back like a Brennan Sheriff too. The offensive line isn't that bad. And if you could have picks in the 2nd round and 3rd round that you can invest in that offensive line, you could really build this offense into like a top 20 offense. And that's really all you need with this defense. Landon Collins, Chase Young, I don't even have to go any further. You don't have to go any further when you hear those 2 names right off the jump. So, number 1, football team. Number 4, that's where my New York Jets come in. One of the most cap space in the league. You got Robert Saleh, head coach. I know you like him. Whole team is young and developing. The main reason that they're this low on the list is because you don't really know. The Jets' future is kind of a toss-up. You don't know if they're going to be good or bad. Because if everything pans out, this team could end up being a legitimate Super Bowl contender in a couple years. But if it doesn't, if everything backfires, like we've seen in the past with this team, and by the way, the front office isn't all that good either. Or not even the front office. The ownership isn't all that good.
Yeah.
You could really see this team backfire, and that's why I have them at number 4. However, you got Denzel Mims and the possibility of bringing in Allen Robinson. I don't think you pass up on that. So these top 4 teams is really good at destinations for Deshaun
And
Watson.
wherever Deshaun Watson goes, Allen Robinson's gonna follow him.
Well, actually, that's only possible for the Jets because we're the only team that has the cap space to.
Yeah. So if we get Deshaun Watson,
So Watson
we're probably gonna end up
with
getting
Allen Robinson.
That'll be sick.
That's
That'll be a great duo.
I could honestly, let's put the Jets in front of the football team. I'm going to put the Jets at the 3, Washington down to 4, just because of that sole reason. Number 5, Carolina Panthers. Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel. I know he's a free agent, but you could bring him back. DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey. You got Joe Brady as your offensive coordinator. This is a very stacked offense. Offensive line could use like a little bit of improvement, but aside from that, this offense is ready to compete right now. All they need is a quarterback. Now, the defensive side of the ball, that's why this team isn't a lot higher because the defense, well, let's not even put it lightly. It's terrible. It's bottom 3 in the league. And when you're giving up that many picks to get him, it's a real question mark if that defense can even become something in the future. But let's say it can. This Panthers team is going to be a Super Bowl contender. Number 6, Denver Broncos. Me and Zach have talked about this before. I think Drew Lock could become a franchise quarterback. I don't know if that's the case anymore, but this offense is just so deadly. Phillip Lindsay, Melvin Gordon, Jerry Jeudy, who I'm very high on, Cortland Sutton, KJ Hamler, Noah Fant at tight end, and a decent all-around offensive line. Like, you only need like 1 or 2 starters left more on that offensive line. That's an elite core. You just need a quarterback. The defense, once again, you see a theme with these teams. It's a bit shaky, but you got Von Miller and Bradley Chubb for the time period. Justin Simmons as well. Honestly, this defense could be enough to give you to the playoffs, and if Watson plays well enough, it could bring you to the Super Bowl. So I would honestly put the Broncos in front of the Panthers, if I'm being 100% honest. Number 7, the New England Patriots. They have a good O-line and a good defense. That's really all that's going for them, aside from the greatest coach of all time.
They just have so many rookie, like young wide receivers. That's literally
and they all suck. N'Keal Harry's a bust. They really just have no weapons on this team, and that's why I'm not higher on them.
They got a great O-line in front of them. Obviously, you got David Andrews, Joe Thuney, but
and the Ndingwe dude.
It's just
Ndingwe.
They have no weapons. They got no receivers. They got
no receivers.
I'll give them this. I'll give them this. Listen, they have a really good running game. I'll give them that. With Sony Michel, James Wright, Rex Burkett, a decent run game. I'll give that.
Sony Michel stay healthy, and that's a big problem with that. Plus, if you have Deshaun Watson, I don't think you're really looking to run the ball. But it is an interesting point. And all around, this team just feels old and you need to rebuild. So I wouldn't want to come to New England if I was Deshaun Watson. But then again, there's that Bill Belichick thing that could be interesting. And then number 8, last team I have, Chicago Bears. No, you have no weapons. You have no offensive line. You literally no running backs. David Montgomery is your one weapon, really. No running backs. Your best wide receiver is Darrell Mooney. Yeah, your best tight end is decent, but not amazing. Your offensive line is terrible. Your defense is pretty good, but it's on the decline pretty soon. All the key players that you see on the defense is going into their 30s now. So you're really at the edge of this bubble. You really have only 1 year left to compete, and you're not getting the quarterback right in 1 year. So Windows looks like it's closed for Chicago. So I got 1 San Francisco, 2 Miami, 3 Jets, 4 Washington, 5 Broncos, 6 Panthers, 7 Patriots, and 8 Bears. But it's really intriguing. Those top 6 teams, I think Deshaun Watson would be fine with going to. It's just New England and Chicago, I don't see it at all.
I agree.
But
in my opinion, this is my opinion. These are the 3 realistic teams, in my opinion. The Miami Dolphins, the New York Jets, the Miami Dolphins, and the Carolina Panthers. Those are the 3 realistic teams for Deshaun Watson, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Who knows? Jets could end up coming up top there.
I know. We're gonna hear stuff.
The thing is with Tua, I don't think the Dolphins are a good team when it comes to developing a young quarterback, especially somebody who's a left-handed thrower, which is already a bit of a disadvantage in the.
That's the thing. The Miami Dolphins, I haven't really seen them develop any type of quarterback down there. They didn't fully develop Ryan Tannehill down there.
No.
Yeah, Josh Rosen, Ryan Tannehill, Tua Tagovailoa.
I know. All those quarterbacks are not developed, but now Ryan Tannehill's developed now. But
I just don't know what situation is worse, him in Miami or him in Houston. I would say probably Miami is probably worse, and obviously Deshaun will come right. I think Deshaun is a rare quarterback in where he could go to any team,
and he can be good,
and he could fit in. It's
he's just that one guy, in my opinion. You can give him a bad team, and he'll still do something with the team.
Well, I mean, there's a couple guys like that. It's Watson, but then you got Mahomes, Rodgers, and Wilson. I think that.
Yeah, I don't know about Mahomes though.
And Lamar Jackson
struggle. Watson went 4-12
with Houston. Yeah, but I think at this point, Mahomes already solidified. If you said drafted, if they go to a bad team, Mahomes bust. But at this point, I think Mahomes solidified enough to where he can carry a team.
Yeah, I agree.
Zach, you put Mahomes on the Jets this year. How many games were we winning?
This year, not a ton.
With no Adam Gase.
I just don't like your roster. I mean, you guys were bad, man. I honestly give you guys maybe 3 more wins.
That's with Mahomes?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have Patrick Mahomes though. the best quarterback in
I think
football.
he wins 10 games with Mahomes. I think he can elevate. See, I'm very high on Denzel Mims. I don't know if you are, but I think you even heard that. You know I'm not biased on that because you heard before the draft I said this dude is the next AJ Green.
Hopefully.
So I'm pretty high on Denzel Mims. I think Mahomes would elevate him to that level of play pretty quickly. But without wasting any more time, let's go on to our next topic. Is we're gonna play a little game of resign or decline. I don't know how many of these players you know, Zach, because a lot of them, as you said, Jets roster wasn't very good. So a lot of the free agents that we have aren't very good.
I know
So-
Marcus May is a free agent, and that is basically it. Is who I know on that team. So I might have to sit this round out.
So basically, I'm gonna give you a name. Zach, anybody you know, you can jump in, but I'm gonna give you a name because I know you will know Rashad Perryman too. I'm
I
gonna
do.
give you a name. You're gonna tell me if you re-sign them and what contract you give them. So we're gonna start off the obvious: Marcus May, re-sign or decline.
Resign. Absolutely resign. I mean,
Anthony, you there?
You're easily re-signing Marcus May. That's not even a question.
to be a safety and to be the best player on your team right now is kind of crazy.
He's the leader on the defense, literally.
At the
the
safety
leader.
position.
Hmm.
That's an easy resign.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, that's an easy re-sign. I think I give him $40 million. I think that's a pretty good contract that he would come back on. $10 million a year. I'm willing to go upwards to like 11, 12, but I don't think he'll want that much. So on to our next free agent, we have Brian Poole.
You're re-signing him. That's an easy re-sign too. The guy's the best slot cornerback in the NFL.
Yeah.
It's he's up there. Though.
He's up there. He's top 5. He's top 3 minimum.
I mean, there's a couple guys on the Bucks that play pretty well.
Yeah, who? Like who?
I don't know. Jamal Dean's pretty good, but he stays outside. Sean Murphy-Bunting's got 3 playoff
He's a
picks
slot?
at the slot.
Bunting's a slot.
Usually when Dean is healthy.
I still think Poole's better though, just because Bunting's very good and he's very young, so he's probably going to develop into a better player. Poole at the moment, if you've seen the stats he had put up in the regular season over the last 2 years, even he's been incredible. So yeah, I think this is an easy re-sign for me as well. I'm giving him let's go 2-year, $18 million contract. It's $9 million per year. Because you already have Javelin Guidry, who is his future replacement on the roster. Bring him back for 2 years. Let Guidry develop for a little bit longer. And you have your guy, so you don't have to worry about him. So the third guy on the list is Rashad Perryman. Resign or decline?
Decline. This guy was a big disappointment in 2020. This is a guy we thought he was going to be a great replacement for Robbie Anderson, but he did not do it. He really disappointing here. I'm not saying I'm not trying to tell you he played terrible. He just wasn't good. He just wasn't as good as we wanted him to be. And if you want to go out, there's some free agents out there. I think you should just let this guy walk, in my opinion.
Yeah, Rashad Perryman, I believe, has jail time coming his way because he stole a lot of money from the Jets. He's a thief. I'm a Bucks fan, so I watched him last year.
Yeah, well, he was good with you. He was good with you guys. At the end of the season,
he had Jameis Winston throwing him the ball.
At the end of the season, he was good.
He had Jameis Winston throwing him the ball with Mike Evans and Godwin out. Who else is he going to throw the ball to? And O.J. Howard dropped like every pass he had last year. He had no one else to throw to. He's going to make Rashad Perryman look good.
Yeah, I think if Adam Humphries was still on your team, Rashad Perryman wouldn't have had as much.
Right. If you were to ask me who would I want more, Scotty Miller or Rashad Perryman, I'm going Scotty all day.
Me too. I mean, I would decline Perryman, but I would think about it. When Joe Flacco, we're going to establish this right off the bat. Joe Flacco is a better quarterback than Sam Darnold at the moment. So when Joe Flacco was in the starting lineup, Rashad Perryman actually looked like a very good player. It's that Sam Darnold just doesn't look his direction. And with Adam Gase, Perryman was just basically told to, that guy that is not very good, and when you're playing football and you just tell him to go long every play. That was basically what Perryman did this year. And he was getting open a bunch too. It's just Sam was not seeing him. He was forcing balls in the slot to Crowder and sometimes to his tight end, Chris Herndon. So I would decline him just because he would probably take a lot more money to resign. But Perryman's not a bad player by any stretch of the word.
He's inconsistent at times.
Yeah, he's inconsistent and he's okay. So the next player is another wide receiver. We have Jeff Smith, resign or decline.
I have no idea who that is, so I'm gonna sit this one out.
You decline. I think this guy. I understand he barely gets out there, but like I listen, man. I'm not trying to tell you he wastes money. It's just no. You let this guy walk. He's young. I really haven't seen him do anything special for this team. I think you should just get some other better receivers in the market. So you should let this guy walk.
I think I would re-sign Jeff Smith, but hear me out. All right. This Jets team, we could be very top heavy at wide receiver next year, but you need some guys to be in depth. Bring this guy back for like 1 year, $800K. I think that's a pretty
Yeah,
good.
I actually take it back. I think we should re-sign this guy. He's had some decent games in the past, actually.
Yeah, it's just I'm not willing to pay.
I re-sign Jeff Smith.
I'm not paying him more than $1 million. I think you can get him for $750K. I'm giving him $800K just so to make sure he stays with the team, but just get some guys in the room that can be depth. But another guy with the last name Smith, who plays wide receiver for the Jets, Vincent Smith, who looked good last year but just hasn't played this year.
I would like to see if we can re-sign him, but I really doubt he's. I say we just let this guy walk because, I think we don't want to have too many receivers on this team, especially guys that are barely even out there. You know what I mean? So, I just say you let this guy walk. Yeah, I felt like he could have been better with the Jets, in my opinion, when he first came here. Like, you guys remember about 3 seasons ago, he had catch of the year. Remember that? Yeah, that he used to be on the Texans. He had like catch of the year, so I thought it was gonna be a good signing at first, but I was wrong. But I just say you let this guy walk, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I would let him walk. I'm looking to either re-sign him or Jeff Smith.
Yeah,
but
I think we're gonna end up
Jeff
re-signing either one.
Jeff Smith is younger, cheaper, and homegrown, so I am picking up Jeff Smith. And I think Vincent Smith has played 2 games this season, had 1 reception. I'm not willing to take a risk on a guy like that when I can just have Jeff Smith and have an average wide receiver in my room.
Yep.
So the next guy is a guy that we picked up mid-season and played pretty decently for the team. Would you re-sign or decline Pat Elfine?
Yes. As our backup right guard, I think this guy would be a good backup guard for us. Because obviously, next year you're possibly going to have a guy like Joe Thuney, maybe Wyatt Davis. But I would like to see Eflin back. I really like Eflin. I think when he had his chance when Van Rotten was out for a couple games this year, I think he did really, really good at guard. So I think we should bring him back. I think he's done special things for this team. So I say we bring him back.
Yeah, and I think this is a Joe Douglas guy. I'm re-signing him. I'm giving him about a 2-year, $10 million deal. That's $5 million per year. I'm looking to front load that contract. No, I'm looking to. I don't know. I think I'd backload that contract. I wouldn't pay him a lot of money this year, so we could end up cutting him next year. And if we don't need him, we could cut him next year and take all that money off the books. But he's been solid, and he looks like a pretty decent backup right or left guard. So I'd bring him back for a short-term deal. But
I just don't know if it's gonna happen though.
The next guy on the list, we traded for him in the start of the season. Would you re-sign or decline safety Bradley McDougall?
You're letting this guy walk, and this guy did not play well. People said special stuff about this guy, but he clearly just did. I know he barely played, but in the beginning, he did not do a single thing for this team. He started opening his mouth right when he got there, and he couldn't even play well. Remember that? He was talking about how they this team couldn't practice and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean,
early in the year he was talking about how they weren't practicing well, and he wasn't even playing good. So I don't know what he's talking about. So
Bradley couldn't beat out Ashton Davis for a starting spot at the safety position. I'm not even going to finish answering the question. Just let that sink in.
yeah.
I'm declining that.
Yeah.
Next guy up, or Zach, did you have anything to say on that? Because I think you know about Bradley McDougal.
Not really. I mean, I think it was pretty well said.
Yeah, so the next guy on the team, he's been on the team for quite a bit. Frankie Louvu re-signed decline.
Resign. I really like him. I think he's done special stuff for this team. I really think that I really like Frankie Louvu. I say we resign this guy. This guy's a really decent linebacker out there. So I think you're gonna resign him. He's a good guy you have on your team. I think he inspires the whole team. I think he's just that kind of guy on the team that just ready to play every game. He gets the team ready. So I think we should resign Frankie Louvu.
Yeah, I like Louvu. He's been on the team for a minute, and we have a hole at linebacker, so I'd probably bring him back. Plus, he's a good guy to have in the locker room. I think Robert Saleh is going to love this dude. I would even go as far as to signing him to a 2-year, $4 million deal, 2-year, $5 million deal, somewhere in that range. He had a very good end of the season and looked like a guy that you could build around as a depth piece for the future, or that you could have in your defense when you build around your Quinn Williams and Marcus May for the future. But Louf is a good linebacker to have, and just don't create a hole. You bring this guy back; he has continuity with the system, and
he's
or
never
he has
really
continuity.
he's never really done anything wrong.
Yeah, and he hasn't done many bad plays. He's just been an average linebacker, which I think at this point the Jets.
If anything, he'll just go. If anything, if he's not playing well, he'll just go invisible. He won't do anything wrong. He'll just go invisible.
Just go invisible. He won't do many plays wrong. But this guy is the exact opposite. Would you re-sign or decline Harvey Lange?
Listen, man, I think we should. It's a good depth piece. I think we should resign him. He did a lot of decent stuff for the Jets this year. I would really bring him back. I really like what he did. So I think he's just a good depth piece. I really think this is another guy you should resign, maybe on a cheap deal. But if not, I think you should let this guy walk. But if I was Joe Douglas, I would resign this guy. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, this dude can tackle, and he can really tackle. That's it. He had 2 pretty good games, but you see this guy's coverage grade is the worst in the league. I'm not bringing back Harvey Lange, although it's a decent argument because of this guy, what he brings to the table in terms of tackling from the linebacker position. I think it's a good thing to have, a good trait to have if you're a linebacker, but you only have, realistically, you have 4 free agent linebackers this year, and you're only going to bring back 2 of them. So I would not re-sign Harvey Lange, I don't think. So we have our next guy, another linebacker. Would you re-sign or decline Neville Hewitt?
Resign. This is another guy that I really like. I really like Neville Hewitt. This is another decent linebacker on this team, and I think he brings some he's an exciting guy to have on your team. I think this is another guy that Robert Saleh is gonna like when he actually starts working with the Jets. So if I was Joe Douglas, I'm bringing back Neville Hewitt. This guy's been with the team for a few years now. He's done a lot of good things for this team lately, so I'm bringing it back.
Yeah, I think I would also bring back Neville Hewitt. I'm giving
But that means we wouldn't try to re-sign both Lange and Louvu. We would probably get rid of one of them.
Yeah, I think you get rid of one of them. As I said, I would get rid of Lange, but I'm bringing back Neville Hewitt. I'm giving him a 1-year, $3 million deal. 1 year, $3 million deal. Matter of fact, 1 year, $2.5 million deal. It's a team-friendly contract. Just bring him back. He's a nice guy to have in the locker room. He's been a pretty good player over his time with the Jets and has filled in well as a starting linebacker. Who knows? You even bring back to a long-term deal. I wouldn't mind it. Just don't give him a lot of money. Neville Hewitt's a pretty solid player. I'd bring him back for sure. And then the last linebacker we have on the list, we signed him last offseason. We have Patrick Onwuasor, a.k.a. Peanut. Would you re-sign or decline?
Decline. I think he's just so hard to get on the field with all the injuries that he has. And I just don't want to be paying a guy that's always hurt and won't give you any playing time. So if I'm the Jets, I really have nothing to say about him. I haven't really seen the guy play in the past before. I'll let this guy walk.
Yeah, this dude's hurt all the time, and I think there's multiple linebackers better than him on this team. I would definitely decline him, unless he wants to take a 1 year, $1 million deal, like a team.
But he's not going to play, though. That's the thing. He's not really going to play.
He's not going to play. I don't want to do that, so I'm not going to bring back Patrick Onwuasor. And with, I believe, our last guy, would you re-sign or decline Arthur Millette?
This is another guy that's been really a decent player at corner. He's done some really good things lately. I'm bringing back Arthur Millette. This is another guy that I really like on this Jets defense. I think this is a cornerback that has some potential to end up being a really decent corner in this league. So if I'm Joe Douglas, I'm trying to bring back Arthur Millette.
Yeah, all right. Or Zach, do you have anything to add on to that?
No, not really. I don't know the team all that well, so I don't have too much to put in that on the resign or decline phase. But
Yeah, so I love Arthur Millette, and he's a great locker room guy, but this past season he just hasn't really played particularly well. I wouldn't resign him. I'm limiting the amount of guys that I want to bring back from this team because there's a reason that we went to 14. And with the amount of cap space we I would love to spread it around to other guys. So I wouldn't bring back Arthur Millette for that reason. So with the players that I would re-sign this offseason, I'd bring back Marcus May, Brian Poole, Frankie Louvu, Jeff Smith, Pat Elfine, Neville Hewitt, and who would you bring back?
Marcus May, Brian Poole, Frankie Louvu, Eflon, Jeff Smith, and Neville Hewitt.
All right, so we have the same list.
You literally have the same list.
We're going into our fifth topic of the night. We're going to go in 3 potential draft targets for the New York Jets, excluding quarterback. And Zach, if you want to, you can bring in some guys that you would target as a Bucks fan.
okay, I wrote down my 3 for the Jets, and my first 2 are basically based off of if Deshaun Watson actually does become a Jet. Now, this would be in a scenario where they would maybe trade away Sam Darnold and still have 2 first-round picks. But I would definitely take an Etienne and Devonta Smith. I mean, I'm really excited about the Jets this next season. They can either really screw it up and be in a lot of trouble for the next many years with this one draft, or they could flip it. They could really flip it. The one thing that scares me with the Jets this year is depth. I think if they get a bit of an injury bug like we saw with the Broncos this year, it could be a world of hurt. But depending on how they draft this year, it could really change the offense, and then they could use a lot of the money that they'll have left over, depending on if Deshaun Watson comes, to really go after defense. And you got guys, I believe C.J. Mosley is coming back. And then my third guy would be Penei Sewell. You got to go with him. He's one of the best offensive linemen that have come out of college in a while.
Real quick hot take, and I'm gonna have this in another podcast episode, but I'm not a big fan of Penei Sewell. I think he's an elite guard at the next level, but I'm not taking a guard in the top 5, so, or in the top 3 at least. So Jets Wire, what do you think? What are your 3 guys?
All right, number 1 on my list is Alabama running back Najee Harris. You guys know this guy. This guy is a beast. You talk beast. This guy is a freaking beast.
All over him.
I can see this guy being the next Derrick Henry, the way he runs, with the way he jumps over defenders. This is a really talented running back. He had about 24 or 25 rushing touchdowns this past year in college. So if you with either the 23rd overall pick or the 34th overall pick, I think you should select Najee Harris with either one. But if you still have the 23rd overall pick, I say pick someone else for that. And if Najee Harris is still there with that 34th overall pick, I would take him.
I'm not a fan of Najee Harris. I don't know really what it is, but I think I see bust.
I can tell you what it is. He's a 6'1" running back. He isn't really a dual threat. And, you look at the Derrick Henry thing. He is bullying these guys. And he looks like they're on the field. But Derrick Henry's 250 pounds, and Najee Harris is only 215. what does that say? He's bullying guys around his size. When he gets to the next level, he's putting or he's 220 pounds. I'm sorry. You're putting on either 20 pounds or you're gonna be a bust. It's that simple. He
Okay.
has
Then next on my list, I got Tristan. You're gonna like this one. Ohio State guard Wyatt Davis. Again,
That I like.
in my opinion, if the Jets keep the 23rd overall pick, which I think they probably will if they trade for Watson, I think they're gonna find a way to keep that pick and just trade future first round picks. If he's there with that 23rd overall pick, I think the Jets really need to select a guy like Wyatt Davis because obviously the Jets are in a quick build. They're in that problem right now with trying to build an offensive lineup. I know it's been improving lately. Obviously, Becton, Lewis, McGovern, Van Rotten. I think that was a really decent O-line, but I really think you can be much better on that O-line. So I really think Wyatt Davis stood up at that O-line really well. And you're gonna cut some of those guys on the offensive line too. So I think Wyatt Davis would be a good option. And
I gotta tell you before you move on to your last player, even though I am a Buckeyes fan, I know where you're coming with that Wyatt Davis thing because he's been pretty consistent over his career. I'm not as high on him as a lot of other people. Now, I think he's going to be pretty fine at the next level. He's going to be a pretty good player, but he is my third interior offensive lineman. I got Elijah Vera Tucker and Trey Smith over him just because of upside. But I do like the Wyatt Davis projection if we're able to land him.
All right. Coming at number 3 is Kyle Pitts, tight end. This obviously the Jets have not really had a good tight end in quite a while. What does he go? Penn State, right?
Florida.
Where does he go? I forgot. I forgot where we went for 1 sec.
Florida Gators.
Yeah, my bad. So, like I was saying, the Jets, they haven't had a really good tight end in a while. I think Kyle Pitts would be a really good selection if he's still there with one of those picks. But the question is, does this new Jets coaching staff really still believe in Chris Herndon? I kind of do, but I would like to draft a guy like Pitts. This is a guy that's a tremendous tight end in college. I think the Jets need a tight end that bad, so that's why I'm going with Pitts. So
I love Kyle Pitts. I think he's the second best player in this draft class behind Trevor Lawrence, and I think he's the next Travis Kelce. So I really like that if we're able to get him.
Yeah.
All right, on to my cool players. I got 2 honorable mentions that I didn't include, but guys are Pat Freiermuth, the 10 from Penn State, and Tyson Campbell, the quarterback from Georgia. I think Tyson Campbell's a guy that you can bring in the first year. He's not going to be very good, okay? I'm going to tell you right now, he's probably going to look like burnt toast in his first season, but that's because he's 6'2", he's pretty light, he's fast as hell, and he's got the athletic ability to be a dominating outside corner at the next level. His technique just lacks a lot, and his zone IQ is pretty low. He doesn't really know how to play zone defense. If you put him in a man-to-man system, he's going to be a very good corner. I'm going to have to look into what Robert Saleh really runs, but I like Tyson Campbell, and I think Saleh can get the best out of him. Then Pat Freiermuth, people describe him as the next Gronk. I think it's not the best comparison, but Pat Freiermuth is going to be a pretty good player. And I look at Freiermuth because he's more of a guy that you can get in the second round, pick 34, rather than a Kyle Pitts, which you're going to probably have to trade up for him in the draft or have him land to you at 23, which would be incredible. But I like both guys, and I think they would both be good additions to the team. Now, coming into my list, number 3, Kenneth Gainwell, the running back from Georgia. I'm not into taking running backs in the first round, particularly at all. I don't like the 5th-year option for running backs, not even a little bit. I wouldn't be mad if Travis Etienne, a.k.a. the next Alvin Kamara, falls to us at pick 34. I would be all over that. Or even Najee Harris, I don't hate him that much, but, I'm not very high on him. I can see where you're coming from to take him in the second, though. But Kenneth Gainwell is a guy you can get at the back end of the 3rd round just because he hasn't played or he has he's not experienced at the position. He's played 1 season at running back and opted out of the draft this past season. But I see a lot of Antonio Gibson in him. He has a lot of pass catching ability, being that he is a former wide receiver. And he's very good. Like it's just maneuvering through players, and he has pretty good vision. Now the problem with him is once again inexperience and the fact that he has a bit of fumbling issue. But I think Gainwell would be a pretty nice player that you could add to this team. Now, number 2, you have Azeez Ojulari, the edge rusher out of Georgia. I love this kid. He is going to be, mark my words, you give him the right pieces around him, and you really like surround him with or good pieces and give him good development, which I think Salah can do. He's going to be either the next Shaquille Barrett or he's going to be the next Bud Dupree. Well, one of those players. He could even like go as far as to be in the next Khalil Mack, but I'm not going to say that. He's a guy that can beat defenders with both pass rushing moves and speed, which is very good. He also has a lot of power. Thing with him, he's pretty raw, or he's a little bit raw. He doesn't have a lot of run blocking ability or run defending ability. I think that is going to be where he needs a lot of his work. And a lot of the time, sometimes he gets overpowered. Not a lot though. Sometimes he gets overpowered by offensive tackles, and he's forced to just use his speed to get around him. He doesn't have a ton of pass rushing moves, which again you can develop that. But overall, his combination of power and speed is just pretty incredible. And I think it's a guy that you would like to target in the first, maybe second round. And then number 1 is 2 wide receivers I have as a tie. And it depends on if we get Watson or we take a quarterback at 2. If we take a quarterback at 2, the guy that I am looking at is Kadarius Toney, the wide receiver out of Florida. Love this dude. He's shifty as hell. Another Gators player. He's shifty as hell. He's a great route runner. Great slot receiver. You put behind Crowder for a season, and once again let him develop, and even use him in packages with Crowder to just make this offense all that more deadly. Just get more wide receiver or get more targets for your young quarterback. I love his tape. He's another human highlight reel. He's just really fun to watch. And then if we trade for Deshaun Watson, the guy that I would bring in or look to bring in is either Terrace Marshall, but I'm not going to say him just because I already have one slot receiver on the list. I do like Marshall though, but I like Rashad Bateman, the wide receiver out of Minnesota. This dude, he's another receiver just like Denzel Mims. He's pretty raw. He's not the greatest route runner, but he's great after the catch. He's an amazing catcher, and he has speed to get past defenders. So you need to get his route running up. He's raw, but his combination of size, speed, and catching ability, and probably athleticism too, is just he's a player you can take and develop into a phenomenal player. And you look on my list, there's a lot of players that are really guys that you can develop, because I'm willing to bank on raw talent. And that's why I do like Justin Fields as a prospect, because while he doesn't look like the greatest player right now, he has all the raw talent in the world to become the next, let's say, Russell Wilson. And I really like that about players, especially when you have a head coach that can develop players well. I like taking gambles on guys. So got Bateman, Kadarius Toney, Azeez Ojulari, Kenneth Gainwell, Tyson Campbell, and blanking on the name right now, but those are my 3 targets. So with our next topic, I think I'm going to push one that we were supposed to have today into our next podcast so that we have time to get these other 2 in. Next one that all of us can talk about, because I know Zach hasn't been able to talk a lot in this podcast, or at least for the last 20 minutes. We got, is Phillip Rivers a Hall of Famer? Zach, I'll start with you.
No. No, he's not.
And just give your explanation and analysis on your opinion.
Look, man, at what point do wins become kind of a need? If you put Phillip Rivers next to a guy like Dan Marino, who sticks out more? I would say Dan Marino all day. Phillip Rivers has a almost, it seems like every game you get to the fourth quarter and Phillip Rivers himself chokes, and obviously not a lot of playoff success, no Super Bowls. not a clutch player. I can't give him a Hall of Fame just because he's played for 17 years or however long. I just can't justify getting him in the Hall. Definitely, I'll say this: definitely not a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's for sure.
Mhm. All right, Anthony, what do you think?
I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. And obviously, this guy, Phil Rivers, he's no Dan Marino. Dan Marino is that good. He had terrific stats. Phil Rivers, obviously, not too many winning seasons for him. Not too many. Not that much playoff success. Obviously not. So it's just no, I'm not trying to tell you this guy wasn't good. No, he was a good quarterback. I just don't think he was I don't think he was great. Just not great. He was good, but not great. But yeah, he had a really good career though. You gotta give it to him. He had a terrific NFL career. He made about 8 Pro Bowls. He was terrific. I think he's just short of being a Hall of Famer. That's all I just think. I think he's just short. Maybe a Super Bowl, maybe he's in the Hall of Fame, but I don't think his career shows that he'll be a Hall of Famer. What about you, Tristan?
Yeah, I mean, Zach, you know how much I love Philip Rivers. He's one of
He's
my
a great
favorite.
guy. He's got 9 kids.
One of them's got to be a Hall of Famer.
How crazy is that?
One of my
How
favorite
crazy?
players in NFL history. He's just the competitive guy you love, but I have certain criteria to be in the Hall of Fame, and there's something I want to say is in an episode of Is Eli Manning a Hall of Famer by Strong Opinion Sports. You guys should check out his channel. He's really good. He runs a really good program, but
Really good.
you have to draw the line at some point or with the Hall of Very Good to the Hall of Fame, and that's where I think you would put Philip Rivers in the Hall of Very Good. There's certain criteria. He doesn't have a Super Bowl, right? So he hasn't had playoff success. He hasn't been a top player, like a top 5 player at his position for any period of time. I'm looking for like at least 3 seasons you need to be, or at least 5 seasons, you got to be a top 5 player in your position, especially if you're a quarterback. So I don't think he was really ever that. 3, does he have the stats? Yeah, he has the stats. He's put up a lot of very good stats in his career. And just looking at the stats, I can tell you the story. He's been a pretty good player over his time. And then the 4th piece of criteria, which is really what separates a lot of guys from the Hall of Good to the Hall of Fame. And this is also why I think Eli Manning is in the Hall of Fame, okay? If you want to tell somebody the story of the last 20 years in the NFL, you have to include Eli Manning at least a couple of times. I mean, to start off the decade, he was drafted by the Chargers and told the Chargers, look, if you draft me, I'm not playing it down for you guys, which really just shows sort of competence. I know you might call that a bitch move, but when you look at the Chargers, they haven't had success developing quarterbacks, and they haven't had success really in their history. So it's a very smart decision by Eli not to want to come to the Chargers. So he's traded to the Giants. Him and John Elway are the only players to do so. Then he knocks off the 18-0 Patriots in the Super Bowl and has one of the most memorable plays in NFL history. Beats the Patriots twice in a Super Bowl. I mean, you got to think, without Eli Manning, Tom Brady has 8 Super Bowls. 8. The Patriots are even more of a dynasty than they already were. So you have to include Eli Manning when you're telling a story about the NFL in the last 20 years. Whereas Philip Rivers, I don't think you mention him.
You know,
The only place I could see you really mentioning him is he was the guy that Eli Manning was traded for. But after that, he's not really had a big impact on the NFL. So I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, as much as I love him. And he was a great player over his career, but I don't think Philip Rivers is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, and that's just it, man, is what legacy did you leave behind? And, you know, you watch, I assume all of us watch, like, the top 100 plays and of, in the 100 seasons that went on last offseason. How many times was the helmet catch talked about? Was, Eli Manning left an impact. I can't think of a play that Phillip Rivers stands out. He didn't have an impact. He was just there and then had 9 kids.
And I mean, that sounds, it's true to an extent. I mean, it's like, look, if you put Phillip Rivers on the Giants, you put him with that team, I think he wins 2 Super Bowls. I think Rivers is a guy with all the talent in the world. He reminds me of a Brett Favre, just doesn't have any of the accolades or rings to really back up that discussion. And Brett Favre left behind a legacy, whereas you don't really have that defining play from Phillip Rivers' career. In fact, I think his defining play is driving the Colts down the field, a chance to knock off Buffalo in his what would end up being his final game, a chance to knock out the number 2 seeded Buffalo in the wild card game, driving down the field and then throws a bad interception with 3 minutes left in the game. I think that's what he's really been over the last years of his career. He's close, he has all the talent, but just can't put it all together.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say about it is continuing on the legacy. Every Hall of Fame player or Hall of Fame caliber player has that play. And it might be weird to say because, one play doesn't define your career, but in a way it does. You've got the helmet catch for Eli. You've got the helicopter run for John Elway. You've got the tuck rule for Brady. I mean, there's probably 4 or 5 for Brady. The 28-3.
It's a bunch for Brady. I think Brady's that one exception.
I mean,
he doesn't
Brady
have that one play. He has that. His whole season, his whole career has been that one defining play.
Right. He seems to just not stop. But you have so many. It's just a legacy thing, man. You got to be able to stand out to be a Hall of Famer, and Phillip Rivers doesn't, to me.
Yeah, and that will lead us to our last topic of this podcast. We are going to be breaking down our 3 early X factors for the game, or let's say 3 keys to the game to win the Super Bowl for the Chiefs and the Buccaneers, and then our X factor from each team. So I'll start it with Zach just because his team actually is in the Super Bowl, unlike me and Anthony, where our team is picking number 2 in the draft. Couldn't even think correctly. So, Zach, what are your 3 keys to the game for the Chiefs and the Buccaneers, and then your X factor for both sides?
I'll start with the Chiefs because I know what they kind of need to do to stop us. They just need to apply pressure to the quarterback, and that if you look at every single game this season, the one thing to beat the Bucs every single time is pressure Brady. You will not win a game, or the Bucs won't win a game if they've got given up more than 4 sacks, 3 sacks. If you pressure Brady, the offense can't get moving. And you kind of just rely on your defense that is spotty, to say the least. But I honestly think that might be the only thing. If they can get pressure with 4 quickly, it could be a very bad game. Offensively, they don't have to worry. They'll play fine. They have to worry about us responding, and that's it. For the Bucs, they're, I mean, they're exactly where they want to be in a situation where they're the underdog again. And I think that's kind of where we want to be. I'll bring this back up, but I think I'm actually going to come back to that in a second. They got to be able to stop Tyreek Hill. Like, they were talking about him almost
he's gonna be ready for this game, the Super Bowl. He's gonna be ready to play.
Yep, and they were saying he was on track for 1,000 yards in a game.
Guys,
about the
ridiculous.
first quarter of that game. It's a young group of cornerbacks who aren't used to being in this kind of situation. None of this team is. It's a new situation, but we're definitely prepared for it. I'll give 2 X factors. My Chiefs X factor is Patrick Mahomes. It's pretty obvious. You get a good Patrick Mahomes, you get a good Chiefs team, and that's how you win games. But my X factor for the Bucs, being a Bucs fan, is Vita Vea. Vita Vea. You saw that. I don't know how many games you guys watched of the Bucs.
I
Maybe
watched a few.
And I assume you noticed that there was almost no pressure. I mean, you go back and watch that Washington game, and I was tweeting that you could literally read a Harry Potter book before you even get pressure on Heineke. But when Vita Vea came back, last week was his first day back. Shaq Barrett went from 19 and a half sacks last season to under 10. I can't remember how many he had, but it was under 10. And JPP, I guess he was a Pro Bowler. But all of a sudden Vita Vea comes back and they both get 2 sacks each. Clearly he's one of the best players on this team. All he has to do is be on the field for 25 snaps a game, and the man controls the line. And so that's why he's my X factor. He's one of the best players on this team.
Yeah, and I'm sorry for saying 3 keys to the game, because that's usually what you need for the Jets, because you're not just going to have one key to the game and then you're going to win. No, you're going to have everything go right for you. So I'm not really used to having competent football teams to grade.
So Tristan, we're doing 3 keys for both teams.
No, not 3 keys, just however many keys you need, because I forgot that there's actually competent teams that only need like one thing to go right for them to win a game. So,
all right.
Yeah, Anthony, you're next with that.
What
are your keys?
2 X factors for both teams too?
Just 1 X factor for each team, and then what are your keys to the game for both teams?
Okay, so now I'm going to start with what the Chiefs have to do, mainly on defense. You know what their offense can do. They're obviously going to be able to score a lot of points in this game. But the question is, the thing about them, their defense, it can be really good sometimes. Sometimes they can just give up a lot of points sometimes. They can be off sometimes. But in order for them to win this Super Bowl again, they gotta get into Brady's face. That's all I'm gonna say. They gotta get into Brady's face. When people get into Brady's face, he flips out. He freaks out. That's literally the only way you're gonna be able to stop Tom Brady. You're gonna have that for a long time, baby. How many do you have?
I got OJ Howard up here. I've got Deshaun Jackson in the closet, and I've got a Carlton Davis.
You better have a Fitz, man.
Not too many.
And then
I got a Fitz.
And then next, I have what the Buccaneers on defense have to do in this game. Obviously, you have you're going to be facing a great offense in front of you. Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill. The main 3, Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. Those are 3 guys, 3 great players right there. The Buccaneers D-line has got to do their job to get into Mahomes' face and just make sure he can't do anything that he's used to be doing. That's literally what it comes down to. And the main thing is they got to lock down Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Those are the 2 main things they have to do. But it just comes down to what the what the Buccaneers can do on offense. In my opinion, that's what it comes down. No, actually, no. I kind of think it all comes down to, can they stop the Chiefs on offense? That's the biggest question of this game, in my opinion. And then next, I'll just do my X factors, then I'll do another key to the game. All right, my X factors for both teams are Patrick Mahomes, obviously, and then On the Buccaneers, I have Mike Evans. I think Mike Evans is going to have a big impact in this Super Bowl this year. Obviously, this is going to be the biggest game of his life. He knows that he has to get to that normal Mike Evans form this game. This is a huge game. Obviously, it's Super Bowl 55. So, obviously, Patrick Mahomes, as a lot of you guys knew, he won a Super Bowl MVP last year. He's the youngest quarterback ever to win a Super Bowl and win Super Bowl MVP. It's just those are my two main factors. And then another key to the game, in my opinion, just be competitive. Well, it's not. I don't want to see a blowout in this in this Super Bowl. You guys agree with me? That's another key to the game. No blowout.
I personally do want to see a blowout.
By the Bucky, by the Bucky. Okay, but like I don't root for either of these teams though. I do. I kind of root for the Chiefs, but like
No,
I don't really care if
you
they
root
lose.
for the Buccaneers.
I'm not like it's not like I'm a total Chiefs fan.
No, you root for the Buccaneers.
So like I just want to see a competitive game. I know, Bucks. You might not want it to be a competitive game, but because your team's really in the Super Bowl, so I understand. But I totally get where you're going right now. So
Yeah, and then I'll go with first of all, I'll start with Kansas City. My keys to the game there is number one, you have to generate pressure on Brady. When you generate pressure on Tom Brady, that means he doesn't have the mobility to escape. Obviously,
Frank Clark and Chris Jones got to get into his face so hard.
Yeah.
Frank Clark is a guy you have to stop on defense.
When you put pressure on Brady, you open up a whole nother dimension of the game. Whereas he's gonna be pressured a lot, and you force him to get the ball out quick. He does anyways, but if you can get Brady to get the ball out quickly and make poor decisions, which isn't easy, the game is not really going to be for very long. If Tom Brady's not having a game, then the Buccaneers are done. But yeah. So first, the Kansas City have to generate pressure on Tom Brady. Secondly, just keep it going on offense. Be consistent. All right. You're not going to have a good running game against this Tampa Bay team. This defensive line is just so good for Tampa Bay.
And they've got Vita Vea back. It's over for the running game.
And you have Vita back. You're not running the ball on the Tampa Buccaneers, especially in a Todd Bowles system. Hell no. So you're going to have that passing attack be extremely good the entire game. Or not even extremely good. You just got to be consistent and play well. So for the Chiefs, good passing attack and get pressure on Brady. Now for the Buccaneers, it's a little bit of the same. You got to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes. Once again, you get these quarterbacks to get the ball out early. You limit what they can do offensively, and you limit the production that they can have, because these are two top 6 quarterbacks, 2 top 7, arguably. Patrick Mahomes obviously being the best. I would put Brady at probably 6, but these are 2 quarterbacks that can pick you apart if you don't have pressure on them. So you're going to have to get pressure on the quarterback. 2, you're going to want to, or you're going to have to limit the amount of production Tyreek Hill has. Travis Kelce is going to have his game, okay? But the difference is when Tyreek Hill is having a good game, you can't beat the Chiefs, okay? Just because of his versatility. He can beat you out of the backfield with jet sweeps and handoffs. They like to do that sometimes. But if he's taking the top off of you, you're just done. Because he has the explosive playability to put up multiple touchdowns in a game. And you're not going to hang with the Chiefs if you're allowing that much offensive production. So you're going to want to limit Tyreek Hill, and you're going to want to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes. That being said, my X factor for the Buccaneers, is Anton Winfield playing?
No word yet. No word yet. They are saying he should be active for the Super Bowl.
All right. So assuming that he is active, he is my or X factor of the game for the Buccaneers, because he can do both. He can get pressure on Mahomes, because I think he can rush the passer pretty well, right, with his athleticism and speed. So he can get around offensive tackles, especially because the Chiefs' offensive line is going to be probably pretty bad in this game. So he can get pressure on the quarterback, and he has the ability to sort of limit the amount of stuff that Tyreek Hill can do by just playing over the top in his zone and not letting Tyreek Hill get past him. So if Anton is having a good game, that's a very good sign if you're a Buccaneers fan. And he's a rookie, so it's interesting. You have a rookie as an X factor, but he just might be the player to win this team the Super Bowl. And then going over to the Kansas City Chiefs side, I'm gonna be unique because you both chose Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, how can you not?
I'm gonna choose Tyreek Hill, and I probably would have taken him anyway. But when Tyreek Hill is having a good game, you cannot stop this Kansas City Chiefs offense. Travis Kelce is going to get his production. He's the best tight end in the game. He's going to get his work done. But Tyreek Hill, when he's able to take the top off of you, as I said, you're not hanging with the Chiefs if you allow him to do that. And my marquee matchup of the game, which is something I didn't include for you guys, I forgot to tell you, but my marquee matchup of the game is going to be Tyreek Hill versus Sean Murphy-Bunting, because I think Murphy-Bunting is guarding him in this game, right?
It will probably be a mixture of they're probably going to pull down a safety and use Dean because Dean.
I have a feeling the Chiefs are going to run some. I have a feeling the Chiefs are going to run some screens to McCole Hardman a lot this game. They're going to do. They're going to. They've done that the last few games. You know what I'm talking about? They pitch McCole Hardman in the back. They gave him like a end around. Boom. That's another thing the Buccaneers have to be aware of this game.
Yeah, Hardman is going to be another X factor.
I know. Hardman's a good player out there. Not even just when he's out there in the slot. He's a terrific returner. He's a great special teams guy. So that's another guy you have to be aware of in this game. Even though you rarely see special teams, you guys know that. Like, it's not like you're seeing that the whole game. But when he's out there, he could be a dangerous player out there. So
matter of fact, I'm going to change this matchup. It's going to be Frank Clark versus Donovan Smith. That's your left tackle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Bucs fans have been complaining about this dude the whole season. He hasn't been playing well. This is the game that he needs to step up. If he can give Brady time to
taking on one of the league's best pass rushers.
The Buccaneers are going to have a much easier time. But Frank Clark is a very good player. If he can get around Donovan Smith and apply pressure to Brady, I think the Chiefs are going to have a much easier time in this game as well. So really, I can see whoever wins that matchup winning the Super Bowl. But yeah, those are my takes. And that is going to be it for this podcast. This went a lot longer than any of our other shows. I had probably a little bit too many topics to go through, but it's been fun. Thank you guys for coming. Anybody got anything to say?
I actually want to throw.
See you guys tomorrow. I'm excited for tomorrow. We're gonna get some really good topics in tomorrow. I can't wait. See you guys tomorrow.
And Zach, what did you say?
Yeah, I actually wanted to throw one more thing in about the Super Bowl real quick while I've got the chance. I really do like the matchup for the Bucs. They can really take advantage of running the ball here. When the Bucs run the ball efficiently, they win games. I think the Chiefs' offense is here and their defense is here. I think there's a big slope in where their offense compared to their defenses. We can really take advantage of that. We just need to show up defensively, and I think it being the strongest we've played defensively, I like our chances, and I'm really excited to see what happens. And the Bucs are in the Super Bowl, baby. I can't be more happy.
You're lucky. Yeah, all these guys are missing the playoffs, and you're in the Super Bowl. You're so lucky, dude.
I got a little bit of an early prediction. I think this is a game Kansas City is going to go up big early, and the Buccaneers sort of slowly chip away at that lead in the second half.
We're definitely a second half team.
I really see this team or this game going to overtime. I honestly couldn't win this game at the moment. I think it's going to be overtime. But yeah, once again, thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check out Jets Wire's YouTube channel, Jets_Wire, and Bucked Up, just Bucked Up on YouTube, right, Zach?
And check out my Twitter. I just made Twitter 2 days ago. Please check that out. It's in the description below.
Yeah, all of our Instagrams. Well, Bucked Up edits is Zach's, and Jets Wire is Anthony. I am currently Jets Take Flight, although I'm probably going to be moving to a new Instagram soon. Once again, thank you to our special guest, Bucked Up.
We appreciate having you on the show. We'll let you on whenever you want to be on here.
Yeah, just text
Fun
me when you
fact,
guys want
Jets
me
fan.
on, and if it works with my schedule, I'll definitely do it. This was a lot of fun.
All right. And
Yeah,
it'll
and
be
fun
even better.
fact,
We'll
Jets
have more
fan.
fun topics. So
It's
All right.
definitely fun.
Zach's name is actually Zach Wilson.
It used to
For
be.
you Warren Mahomes guys out there, Zach's name is. It used to be Zach Wilson. So for the last time, thank you guys for watching. Be sure to tune into our next podcast tomorrow. I don't know if Zach is going to be able to make that, but me and Anthony will be here, as well as probably Charlie Morrow making his return for the first time in a week. But until next time, thank you guys for watching.
Guys tomorrow.
J-E-T-S.
Jets.
Jets.
See you later.
Bucks.
Let's go.